First thing to do is set your project directory. Click on the project directory button, open up a folder called Joint Compensation, and set your project directory there. Let's load a scene file from the scenes folder called Joint Comp Setup. See, it's the same muscle man. I've laid in just the back, head, and neck bones. Let's click into Setup. We'll middle mouse click on Back 2. Use the plus key to add a bone to that. Rotate it down. On heading, just stick this in the middle of the shoulder here. Switch to a left view, bank it so Y faces directly out. Add another bone to that. Move this one down past the elbow. Go to a top view. We'll pitch this back so it's on the bony part of the elbow. Add another bone to that. Pitch this one forward. Adjust the length so it's on top of the wrist. Rotate this on heading. Add the last one. Call this first bone under the rename block clavicle R. The second one here, bicep R. Third one, forearm R. And then the last one, wrist R. Now if we click into the Animate tab, you'll see that when we rotate forearm R, it pinches itself off. Sure, if we tab into metanerbs, it doesn't look as bad, but we want to make sure that this doesn't pinch itself off like it's a big rubber chicken. So we need to add a few more changes to this to make it move more realistically so it looks like an actual arm. Let's click into Setup. The first thing to do is to not use large bones, because large bones take up more geometry than small bones do. So down here under the skeleton block, let's split this bone in half. Same thing with the forearm. We'll call these new bones bicep 2R and forearm 2R. So now we head back into Animate, you'll see that it doesn't pinch off as much because these bones have less influence. We want to go one step further. And it's still pinching off like it's a rubber chicken. You need to add a third bone that spans those two and pushes the geometry out. Let's go back into Setup. We're going to select bicep 2R. We're going to add a bone to that one. Under the bone block, uncheck Align Z to Parent. Zero out the Z. We'll pitch this one forward and drag the length of this bone up to the base of forearm 2R. Let's go to the front. We'll adjust this up on heading so that it matches. We'll check on muscle bone. We're going to select forearm 2R as the target. See, it's a muscle bone because it turns blue. Let's name this bone elbow R. So when we go to a top view, you'll see that you can already guess that the field of influence on this bone is going to be greater, but it's also going to be competing with these other two smaller bones. So the area here, geometry-wise, will average out. Click into Animate, you'll see that it's grabbing this part as we rotate and pulling it forward. Let's highlight elbow R, go back into Setup. We'll adjust the slip so that it doesn't hold as much influence over the bones. We'll set it to 0.5. Go back into Animate and see what it does. See that it's now pulling less of the bone, so it looks more like a muscle. Go back into Setup, set it a little more. 0.7. 0.7 is too much. 0.6. 0.6 looks really good. Now if this bone is too big, it's fairly easy just to go in and shorten these. so that we have less of an influence on the mesh. Uncheck muscle bone and drag the length of this down. Go to a front view, make sure it lines up. Check it again so it goes back to its position. We'll switch to animate. We'll see that now that they're smaller, they have lesser influence. So go back into setup. We'll middle mouse click and highlight our elbow here, and we'll drag the slip down so that now it has more influence over the bone. Set it to 0.1. 0.2 looks like it's going to work. There we have a joint compensation. In setup mode, since our arm is slightly bent, we go into animate and hyperextend this. It actually pulls it down like a tendon should, so we get a nice curve on the bicep when it goes down. It also pinches itself off, so it looks pretty real. You see it works pretty nicely. Let's go to File and save this scene as JointComp2.fxs.